Hey, how's it going? So today I wanted to talk about programming. And I mean programming of like the kind that comes through the television, the kind that comes through your school, the kind that comes through your broadcasting of news, you know, fiction media. I mean, I think the programming gets stuck into everything. And I also want to talk about it on not just the level that it's sort of delivered to us as a whole to the general public, but also the way that it has evolved from the era of the MK12 majestic type Manchurian candidate style programming that was at the advent of the American uh, dipping of our what, what is the word for for the spying? I can't remember the word for there's a name for the industry. Espionage. Yes, the Manchurian candidate for espionage purposes, because I guess the story is that Russia was doing it, so if they're going to do some kind of defense related activity, then we better be doing the same thing too, and better, because USA, you know. So anyway, so that kind of programming, definitely those two things. And I really think that the first stuff I was talking about is the evolution that I was talking about, where like they don't have to do such a hands-on thing as they were doing way back when. I mean, if you want to know about the story of America and what we were doing to develop this technology, I advise you to go ahead and look up Majestic or MK12, because those two search words will get you to where I'm talking about. And it's not like it's hidden or anything. It's pretty much just out there in the open for anyone to familiarize themselves with. So that's one thing about it. And then the other thing is that you get it like I want to say hereditarily, and personally it just goes only so far with the hereditary stuff, but in particular, well, your family expects certain things of you, and it's kind of like family tradition, and it's what's expected of you, and it's what's expected of the generation before you, and so they therefore expect you to do whatever is the thing in the family, that everybody does it this way, and that's how we've always done it, and tradition and blah blah blah. That was not really my existence, but there were themes that, without even having to talk to each other, the adults were kind of agreed upon, like, this is the way we deal with the children, this is what the children get to talk about, this is what the children get to hear, this is what they get to hear us talk about, you know just like regular daily stuff to just keep the general public in line, I guess, is why they they the this they the they in quotations, but yes, the authorities, to control the general public and to make sure that their minds are not on rebellion or thinking too much about like what they may be doing and losing in the process, and handing over to the feudal leader or the authoritarian collector of tax, or deliverer of justice, or cop, or whatever the thing is in our whole like social construct. And so for me, in this context of what I'm talking about, the hereditary uh, programming was specified coming from my single parent that I lived with. And that was, of course, go to school, you know, do girly things like, wear dresses and play with dolls. And like, my poor mom must have been so disappointed because if I did get a doll, I probably didn't ask for it because I never really wanted those. And their limbs would be off, not because I hated them or am a psychopath or anything like that. It's just like, I don't know. I didn't play with them like I cared for them and loved them like they were my little plastic babies, because that just wasn't my mindset, I guess. And I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I was psycho. I don't remember why they end up in pieces, but I did have a boy cousin around, and that may have been why too. That may have been a contributor. Like, he was always trying to like get a rise out of me, and it makes total sense. Like right now that he would like, you know, what do you call it? When you take apart like a chicken, whatever. When you take it like, oh, take it apart, you know, behead it, take off the limbs, make it into a torso. You know what I'm saying? And that was like a total digression I did not need to take. But anyway, part of the programming that I got from my mom was what I mentioned before about like the going to school and the behaving the way, you know, sweet, nice little girls should behave, which is not that I wasn't a sweet, nice little girl, but I just wasn't a girly girl. Like, I liked playing with the boys, and also there were like, I didn't have siblings that I lived with. I lived with or near cousins, and there were a pair on like both sides of my family. But for some reason, the girls didn't live with the part of the family where I saw who I saw. Like, I saw the boys. So what I'm getting at is I grew up with boys. So that may have had a lot to do with it. It may have a lot to do with my sense of humor now, which another digression would be called for to go into that. So I don't want to, and so I'm not going to. I'm going to try and stay on topic here. So the hereditary programming was my mom wanted me to wear dresses, play with dolls. I think by the time I got into my teens, she got that like that wasn't going to be the way of things. And I don't remember getting like hair and makeup tutorials or tips or anything like that, you know. But she wanted me to like be a secretary and get a job all the time. Like, from the time that I was really young, like 12, if I mentioned that I was bored, I got a speech about when she was 9. My mom worked in like a vegetable stand or grocer stand or something, and there was a picture of her standing on a chair when she was 9 with her pigtails, and you know, she's I guess a short child, and so she's standing on this chair to reach a scale, one of those hanging scales you'd see at like a sidewalk grocer stand, and weighing something in a brown paper bag. And it was like, this is what you need to do. I did it, you should do it. And it's like, I then and now did not want to get a job. I just never have really been into people telling me what to do and what line I had to stand in and all of that kind of thing. So my mom, though, was like really good rule follower, and we, for many years, did not click. But one thing about her, though, and I think the reason why she was pushing the programming so hard was that she was worried about like what would become of me, because for most of my life she was dying of cancer. And when she did die, it was the second doctor, although I have a feeling there were even more previous to the last one. But what he said when she passed was that she had already lived 19 years beyond the previous doctor's expectations, or I don't know. Now I messed that up, but he did say that she had outlived the previous doctor's expectations and 19 years beyond his expectations. And he made a point, although why you would tell someone this, like right when their parent had passed, it was just seemed like a big guilt trip at the time. I was like, really? Like you gotta try and program me too? But what he said was is yes, she outlived everyone's expectations because she wanted to be around for you, which is what I was just complaining about. Like, thanks for laying that on me. Like, thanks. It's been several, very many years now, so I can kind of laugh at it, but like at the time, I was kind of appalled because, dude, what the hell? Um, but they him too, trying to program me. It's crazy, and so it's kind of amusing to me that I am kind of like absorbing all kinds of programming, but trying to break all of it, trying to break out of all of it. And it's amusing to me now as I think of it and as I'm saying it out loud that my mom and I did clash on a lot of things, but not entirely. Like we didn't at all hate each other, just like I was just a lot as a teen and headstrong and independent. And I then, as now, don't like to be told what to do. It just rubs me the wrong way. And so, programming, yeah, it gets in there, but does it stick? Does it apply? I don't know. But we get told a lot of stuff throughout life, and it's hard to sort of see past what everything is telling you is the case about you and the world without realizing that like there's something to see past, I guess. And a lot of stuff became clear to me early on that a lot of people weren't getting. I saw this when I was younger and I was like, how come this person that's older than me and allegedly more educated and smarter than me, why do they not see this, whatever it was in the situation that I was seeing? But then why do I like, oh, I thought I was so smart and I got so much when I was young. I got older and then all of this other stuff started to become clear. And it has been things that I have that are well considered, that I have thought out before. So now that I've laid some groundwork kind of for this programming thing, what I wanted to talk about is the way that it works on us. And I have a particular set of situations that sort of illustrated this to me, how my own programming, how I was sort of helping it work on me and not realizing I was doing it. And so it goes like this. When I was a kid, and I had my mom, who, like I said, if I said I was bored, she'd be like, get a job, get a job. I get a job with the picture. So I've been there, right? So I remember for several years when I was pretty young, probably like, your first 4 or 5 years of elementary school, let's say, and this would have been in the 70s for me. And there were always on the weekends, on the Saturday morning programming, spots with like entrepreneur kids and business whiz kids. And that I'm sure still happens. I mean, I remember being well into my 20s and seeing something about some little girl that like had her own little fashion empire, and she was like a young kid and she had like a little empire going. Well, it wasn't little, she was little, the empire was regular size, it was impressive. And so I would see things like that, or like little boys that had some little business that turned into like a living income, and I would look at that with my mom in one ear and then all other programming in the other ear, and look at that and think, well, I should be doing something like that, and could never for the life of me come up with a cool, marketable, workable scheme. Just kind of watched it and felt like, And then another incident along the same lines, at around the same time, same era. I became aware that this girl had a book published, and this was something I saw on like CBS Sunday Morning. I'm pretty sure is what I saw it on, or like the Today Show on the weekend, something like that. But a little girl around the age I was, like 9. I was 9 when I saw this, pretty sure, and she was 10 or 11 or something. I know this person is my age or a couple of years older. So this girl had this book published, and the reason why I mentioned the show that it was on is because those shows are usually attached to some publishing house. Attached to some publishing house. And so that's why she would have been on there. But it was also a novelty because she was a child and had written this book, and I guess had won a Newbery Award or something like that. And it was called She Was Nice to Mice, and it was written by a person who was a child at the time, Ali Sheedy. Yes, the actress Ali Sheedy. So she wasn't the actress Ali Sheedy at that time. She was just still this pretty impressive kid that wrote a book that got published, and they were talking about her and her book on the news. And so I was a writer then too, or I, have kept a journal for many years, and for me, that's writing. So anyway, I was like, I should be doing something like that. And so what I'm getting at by mentioning those other kids is that I felt some pressure from like home and from watching these shows and from myself, like I should be doing something like this, and then wasn't, and would get discouraged and feel bad. And I guess I don't know how I could forget this. Like this just occurred to me the other day. But and anyone can look this up, so I'm not going to talk about it a lot, but I used to be in a band. It was my first band, punk rock, when I was 16. I was the oldest. Our singer was 9. We were called Mad Society. If you want to see the version with me in it, you have to make sure and include Mad Society 1983. And then from there, you can know anything more you want to know about it. But like I said, those shows I watched and were affected so much by was when I was in elementary school. And so when the band happened, I was in junior high school, ninth grade. And so several years had passed. And so I didn't make the connection until like a few days ago that I was still a kid when I did something pretty impressive. We didn't make a whole ton of money because we didn't do it for that long because we were kids and we were very competitive and couldn't agree on much for long and sort of imploded ourselves. But, in retrospect, my goodness, I mean, we ended up on the cover of the entertainment section of the Los Angeles Times, plus a couple of pages inside that section. We got to play mini gigs. We were on the news. We were on a public access show called New Wave Theater that a lot of the other punk bands were on. We were in lots of magazines from LA and from all over the country. And like, I don't know, like I was a kid and I didn't remember how bad I felt that I wasn't doing anything. And it's like a few years later, totally slips my mind. And yeah, we were like, I was really doing something. Me and these other kids are out there doing something pretty impressive, pretty amazing and fun for us. So I guess you could say I broke that programming of mine that I was this kid and I wasn't really achieving anything impressive. And I'm just going to go with that word and not explain anymore. Like, if you can't like pick up on what I mean by that, that's okay. But I'm not going to like delve way into it. I don't want to get all psychological and take a long time. So I guess that about covers it as far as all of the kid stuff. But I guess I want to close it out by saying we can break our programming, but we have to pay attention and we have to notice that we're doing it. Like, hopefully, for everyone else, it doesn't take 30 plus years before they make that kind of connection that I did. That, like, yeah, programming made me this way, that way, and the other way in my thinking, but also in my thinking, I was like, I'm going to go do this thing. It's like I didn't even make the connection, which I don't know. Maybe that's programming damage. I don't know. But I just kind of wanted to get my thoughts out on that. Sorry about that. I think I mentioned before, I don't have like a real, you can see, I don't have a real studio situation here. So occasionally I will run into the stand. I have my camera on. But that about covers it for right now. Thank you and good night. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Thank you and good night.